Chit Chat Wright didn't ask to be Caitlin Clark's successor, but that's exactly where she landed. Fresh off an injury, in a season full of growing pains, she now finds herself as Iowa's lead guard facing UConn, the most unforgiving opponent in college basketball. The weight isn't just from the rankings or the pressure, it's from the shadow left behind by Clark. And yet, Clark hasn't distanced herself. She's been a constant, texting, analyzing, cheering, mentoring. It's not just support, it's scrutiny wrapped in belief. This game isn't about final scores or rankings. It's about whether Iowa can still matter at the top. Clark lit the path, but it's Chit Chat who now has to walk it, limping or not. Her performance against UConn will say more than any stat line. It will answer the question of whether a program built on one generational star can evolve beyond her. If Wright delivers, it means the culture Clark helped build is strong enough to stand on its own. If she falters, the rebuilding starts from...
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Caitlin Clark may have left Iowa's campus, but Iowa never really left her. You don't just break NCAA records, carry a program into the national spotlight, and then walk away clean. Especially not Caitlin, because even as her pro career heats up, she's still locked into Iowa like she's got unfinished business. The tweets, the texts, the sideline critiques from the couch, all of it paints a clear picture. She's still watching, still analyzing, still invested. It's not just surface-level fandom either. Clark has been live tweeting Iowa games with more intensity than most analysts. Missed calls? She's on it. Refs messing up? She's tagging. Her loyalty is still in black and gold, and she's making sure everyone knows it. And she's not just talking to fans. She's texting Jan Jensen, her former coach, mid-game, not post-game, during. That kind of real-time analysis from someone who's seen the highest levels of pressure, that's not casual. That's mentorship in motion. Every message, every opinion, every "what was that call?" is a reminder that Caitlin Clark isn't done influencing Iowa. She just changed seats. Clark's presence still looms over the court, even when she's nowhere near it. The younger players know it. The fans definitely feel it. And Iowa's system is still adjusting to the vacuum she left behind, trying to fill it, patch it, or in this case, hand it over to someone new. Which brings us to Chit Chat Wright, the freshman point guard trying to walk a path that's already been scorched by fire. No one is officially saying she's the next Caitlin Clark, but come on, everyone's thinking it. She's in that position, wearing that jersey, in a system Clark defined. The pressure is enormous. The expectations? Worse. Wright has talent. There's no doubt. But talent doesn't shield you from comparison, especially not when the crowd is used to 30-foot bombs and stat-padding triple-doubles. Wright isn't just playing basketball. She's battling a ghost. And Jan Jensen. To her credit, Clark isn't fueling that fire. She's guiding, not comparing. Her support for Chit Chat has been consistent. Not loud, not performative, just steady. She's giving the kind of nod that says, "I see you." And from someone like Clark, that's more than just a compliment. It's a stamp of credibility. Coach Jan Jensen has confirmed it. Clark still texts about Wright, still asks about her development. It's not gossip. It's mentorship, focused, deliberate, and rooted in the same intensity Clark brought as a player. The dynamic between the old guard and the new blood isn't just symbolic. It's operational. But that transition hasn't been smooth. Wright's season has already been hit with injuries, pushing back her rhythm just when Iowa needed her most. She's missed crucial reps, and even now, she's not at full speed. Her shift from high school phenom to Big Ten playmaker has been anything but seamless. She came in with confidence. Some called it cockiness, but confidence doesn't heal ankles. And when your body's not cooperating, it messes with your head too. The frustration has been visible. It's not just about missing shots. It's about missing time. And for a team still reeling from the Clark era, time is everything. Add in the brutal Iowa winter, the cultural shift, and the psychological toll of constant expectations, and you start to see the full weight on Wright's shoulders. It's not just athletic adjustment, it's lifestyle, identity, environment. You don't just step into a program like Iowa and figure out. You either adapt fast or you get buried. Her first serious injury of the season came at the worst time, right before Iowa started dropping games. Losses to Iowa State and Alaska cut deep. Not because they were shocking, but because they were reminders. This team still hasn't found its new right. That's why the UConn game is such a looming storm cloud. It's not just another game. It's the game, the test, the moment that tells us if Iowa can still punch above its weight, or if they're just treading water, hoping another Clark will magically show up. Wright knows this. The team knows it. And somewhere in the background, you can bet Clark is watching. Not judging, supporting. But even silent support comes with weight when it's coming from someone who once was the weight. The mental game is brutal. Wright isn't just fighting UConn's defense. She's fighting hesitation. She has to decide if she's going to lead or pass, shoot or defer, step up or shrink back. And all of that with the camera lens zoomed in, waiting for her to either crumble or conquer. Clark didn't become a legend by playing it safe, and that's what she's trying to communicate to Wright. Be aggressive. Own your role. You don't have to be me, but you do have to be ready. Because this game isn't giving anyone time to grow slowly. The UConn defense doesn't care about your growth arc. They're not here for your redemption storyline. They're here to expose every hesitation and exploit every weak rotation. And if Wright doesn't come out with fire, Iowa's going to get cooked again. Clark understands that better than anyone. And it's why her quiet mentorship means so much. She's not just watching for fun. She's invested in whether Wright rises. Because if she does, it's not just a win for Iowa. It's a continuation of the standard Clark helped create. In chit-chat, Wright. This is legacy in real time. Not in banners or interviews, but in the way one player shows up for another. Not to relive her own glory, but to make sure the future has won. That's what makes Clark's influence different. It's not about clout. It's about continuity. So when the lights come on for the UConn game, it's not just chit-chat Wright's moment. It's a moment for every Iowa fan, every player who's followed Clark, and every skeptic who thought the program would flatline after she left. And yeah, it's a test. But it's also a chance to prove that legacies aren't just left behind. They're passed forward. If you've been watching the Iowa rebuild or rooting for the next generation to carry the torch, let us know how you think Wright will perform. Do you see her rising under pressure? Drop your predictions in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the drama shaping college basketball's future. And chit-chat, Wright. There's a reason people keep circling back to this UConn matchup. It's not just that they're ranked number one. It's the symbolism. UConn represents the mountain, the measuring stick. They've been dominant for decades, and facing them is the ultimate gut check. For Wright, it's more than a basketball game. It's the first time she's had to fully own her role. No rookie buffer. No still learning. This is her moment to lead. And Clark knows what that pressure feels like. That tightrope between confidence and collapse. It's clear from the outside that Wright hasn't had it easy. The comparisons started before she even took a college-level dribble. Media, fans, even teammates, everyone expects fireworks. And when she's not delivering 25-point nights, the whispers grow louder. Clark went through that same machine, but she had time to grow into the monster she became. Wright's growth window is microscopic by comparison. Iowa doesn't want potential, they want results. And that's where the struggle becomes personal. You can see it in Wright's body language. Some games she's loose, locked in, fiery. Others, she looks like she's overthinking every dribble. That's what pressure does. It either sharpens you or slows you down. And when the stakes get this high, every decision feels like a referendum on your worth. That's where Clark's support becomes more than symbolic. Having someone in your corner who's actually been through it, not just seen it, is massive. And Clark isn't offering empty words. She's backing Wright in the same way Jensen backed her, with accountability and belief. Clark understands that mentorship isn't about coddling. It's about pushing respectfully, relentlessly, and with intention. And that's the vibe Wright has been absorbing. You can't replicate Clark's range or her charisma, but you can take notes on how she attacked every moment. And the best part? Wright seems to be listening. She's not brushing off the expectations or hiding from the spotlight. Even injured, she's still watching tape, working through reps and staying mentally sharp. That's how you know she's not just trying to replace Clark. She's trying to earn her own chapter. Sad. Still, the losses sting. Iowa's drop to Iowa State wasn't just a scoreboard issue. It was a confidence hit. The Alaska loss? That shook fans into panic mode. People started asking, is the magic gone? And when you've just inherited the keys to that kingdom, those questions start to feel personal. Wright has to carry that burden while still figuring out who she is. She's not the savior. She's not Clark, but she's the starting point guard of a legacy program. And that title doesn't come with leniency. And chit-chat, right? This isn't about replicating stats or matching hype. It's about leadership, control, creating offense when everything breaks down, the way Clark used to. The UConn game is going to demand that level of poise. You don't survive UConn by playing cautious. They punish hesitancy. They trap, they rotate, and they expose the unprepared. So Wright's going to need more than a hot start. She'll need to sustain tempo, control the flow, and make the reads that decide. Clark's recent comments about the team were telling. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She acknowledged the losses. She praised Wright's development. But she also emphasized execution, a subtle reminder that mentorship doesn't cancel out accountability. She said, there's going to be bumps. It's a new group, but I believe in them. That line hit hard because it didn't sound like PR speak. It sounded like someone who actually cares if they succeed. Not for her reputation, but for their own. And that's why this narrative matters. Because Clark could have pieced out after graduation. She could have focused on endorsements, on her pro career, on avoiding the noise. But she didn't. She stayed connected, stayed vocal. It's not just tweets and texts. It's the fact that Clark's watching every moment and still holding the program to the same standards she lived by. She's emotionally tied to the outcome, and that's rare. Not every star comes back for the rebuild. Wright's injury timeline has been frustrating for the program. What started as a manageable tweak turned into a lingering issue. Every time she looked ready to explode, something physical held her back. And you could tell it wasn't just her speed. It was her confidence. When a player doesn't trust their body, their game suffers. Hesitations creep in. The court feels smaller. And that's exactly what's been haunting Wright in transition. She's got the vision. She's got the handle. But that extra gear hasn't been available yet. The staff's been careful. They've limited her minutes, pulled her from contact-heavy drills, even modified her warm-ups. But with UConn on the horizon, the leash is tightening. Wright will either be ready or exposed. There's no in-between against a team like that. Clark knows this reality all too well. She dealt with similar growing pains as a freshman, the high ankle sprains, the exhaustion, the pressure to bounce back faster. And she's probably the only person who can relate to what Wright's battling in this moment. Right. Clark's influence has never been about controlling the spotlight. It's about using it. She knows how intense it can be. And right now, she's helping Wright navigate that same blinding heat. Not with pity, not with speeches, just with presence. That alone sends a message. You've got someone who gets it. When Clark talks about Iowa basketball, she still uses we. Not they. Not the team. We. And that mindset, that subtle alignment, gives Wright a sense of belonging that no press release or stat line ever could. She's not alone out there. Not even off the court, Clark's still shaping the narrative. Reporters ask about the fever, about WNBA rivals, but she always circles back to Iowa. There's unfinished business in her voice. Not because she left anything undone, but because she wants what she built to last. Legacy isn't built on trophies. It's built on who comes after you and how prepared they are to keep things going. Clark sees Wright as that bridge. And the way she talks about her, it's not just hopeful. It's expectant. She expects Wright to carry the torch, to grow into the pressure, and to do it her own way. But that doesn't erase the current struggle. Wright is still searching. She's had flashes, quarters where she controls pace, reads the defense, dishes with confidence. But then it dips. A misread, a quiet stretch, a turnover in crunch time. That up and down rhythm is brutal in games that demand consistency. It's a reminder that Wright's not there yet. She's in the middle of the hardest chapter, the becoming. And nobody claps for becoming. People want finished products. They want microwave legends. And when Wright doesn't instantly deliver, they start questioning her altogether. The mental fatigue is real. Constant analysis, constant comparison, constant talk about someone else's shoes. The whispers of not ready or not Clark linger in post-game coverage, on socials, even in the arena. And the most ironic part? Clark never asked anyone to follow her path. She just wants a program to thrive. But the spotlight doesn't operate on fairness, and Wright's under it whether she wants to be or not. That's what makes this UConn matchup such a crossroads. If Wright shows out, it won't just be a statement to the fans. It'll be validation to herself, a sign that she can lead, that she can hang, that her voice can echo just as loud. Clark had her breakout game against Michigan in her freshman year. This could be Wright's moment, and not because she drops 40, but because she plays fearless. That's all Clark is hoping to see. Not perfection, just presence. Of course, none of that matters if Wright's ankle doesn't hold. It's been the elephant in the locker room for weeks. The pain management, the tape jobs, the limited practice, everything's been geared toward getting her just healthy enough to perform. But against UConn, enough might not cut it. This isn't a game where you can hide. Every possession matters. Every rotation is scouted. And if she's half a step slow, it's going to show. Worse, it's going to hurt. That's where the risk comes in. Play her too soon, and you set her back. Hold her out, and you lose your shot. Iowa's walking a tightrope with Wright's health, and Clark knows exactly how that feels. She once played through a hip issue that almost cost her a tournament run. And while Clark is too professional to say it out loud, her actions speak volumes. The subtle check-ins, the game breakdowns. She knows Wright's dealing with more than just recovery. She's fighting self-doubt, team pressure, and a fan base still nostalgic for a different era. Clark has said over and over that she doesn't want Wright to imitate her. She wants her to find her own fire. That's key, because imitation doesn't win championships. Identity does. In her recent interviews, Clark's phrasing has been clear. She's got what it takes. She just needs to trust it. That trust doesn't come from applause. It comes from minutes, from mistakes, from grinding through games like this UConn one, where the stakes are sky high and the margin for error is microscopic. Speaks. When Clark left Iowa, she didn't just leave a vacancy. She left a blueprint, a high-speed, emotionally driven, game-breaking blueprint. And Wright, for better or worse, is expected to follow it while rewriting it. That's what this season has really been about. Not just wins or losses. It's about survival, development, passing the torch without setting everything around it on fire. And Clark's still in the background, watching like a proud and occasionally stressed big sister. And chit-chat, Wright. When the game against UConn tips off, all eyes will be on Wright. Will she play? Will she lead? Will she fold? And behind all that noise, Clark will be there, not physically, but in spirit. In texts, in tweets, in every stolen camera shot that pans to the Iowa bench after a big moment. This isn't about rewriting Clark's legacy. That's already etched in stone. This is about proving that legacy matters, that it left behind something worth continuing, and that even as one era ends, another can begin if the right person is ready. It's wild to think that a year ago, chit-chat Wright was just another high school standout, quick on her feet, sharp with the pass, making headlines in local papers. Now, she's on ESPN's radar, her name trending every time Iowa hits the floor. That's not a normal freshman transition. That's a full-speed collision with expectation. And Clark gets that better than anyone, because she didn't have a slow build either. For her first NCAA game, the pressure was sky high. But she had time to grow, multiple seasons, full health, a system tailored to her strengths. Right? She's been tossed into the deep end with weights on her ankles and a stopwatch running. The difference now is that people are less patient, because they've seen what great looks like. Clark shifted the standard. She made superhuman seem normal. So now, when Wright stumbles, it doesn't look like growing pains. It looks like regression. That's a tough mental load for any teenager, let alone one trying to run an elite college program. You can see the emotional toll. Wright doesn't smile as much post-game. Her interviews are more cautious. There's less spark, more weight. And who could blame her? Everyone's asking, are you ready? But what they really mean is, can you be Caitlin Clark without being Caitlin Clark? And chit-chat, right. Clark's response? Show up. Stay present. Offer quiet encouragement without pressure. Let Wright breathe. Let her figure it out. Because legacies aren't meant to be photocopied. They're meant to inspire new ones. And Wright, for all her ups and downs, is still here. Still starting. Still showing glimpses of what she could become. She's not out there trying to win over Clark's fans. She's trying to win for her teammates. That distinction matters. And it's what Clark respects the most. But here's the thing. All the potential in the world doesn't matter if the body won't cooperate. Wright's injury has lingered like a shadow. Not catastrophic, but constant. That kind of nagging issue is enough to slow everything down. Decision-making, explosiveness, confidence. The medical staff has been conservative, which makes sense. No one wants to risk a long-term setback. But every game she sits or plays at half speed, the questions get louder. Can Iowa compete without her at 100%? Can she lead a team when she's not leading herself? Clark's not throwing out empty slogans. She knows the stakes. She knows what's on the line when Iowa steps into that arena against UConn. And still, she's rooting for Wright, not through her. That's an important difference. Clark's not chasing some redemption arc. She's nurturing the next act. She talks about resilience a lot, not just as a sports buzzword, but as a lived reality. Because resilience isn't pretty. It's not about smiling through it. It's about dragging yourself through the mud until something clicks. And that's exactly what Wright is. Clark's interviews lately have taken on a different tone. Less firebrand, more veteran. She talks like someone who's already been through the war and now wants to keep others from stepping on the same landmines. She's mentioned Wright by name, not with overhype, with honesty. She's learning. She's getting tougher. She's asking the right questions. It might not sound flashy, but that's the real endorsement. Not in adjectives, but an acknowledgement. And chit-chat, right. At the end of the day, this isn't a story about torch passing in a stadium full of fireworks. It's gritty. It's slow. It's a freshman grinding through the noise, backed by a legend who refuses to look away. Whether Wright explodes against UConn or not isn't the only metric that matters. What matters is that she keeps going, that she keeps listening to the person who once made Iowa shake and who now just wants to see it rise again. So if you're as locked into this story as we are, drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Wright about to turn the corner, or is the pressure too much too soon? Tap that like button if you're rooting for her growth, and make sure to subscribe if you want more real talk from the heart of the court.